Welcome to the Crimson Tide Connection, your home for Crimson Tide sports, and I'm joined by the head coach of the Alabama baseball team, Mitch Gaspard. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Coach, you take on your first SEC road trip of the season. You hosted Tennessee to start SEC play last weekend, went 2-1 against the Vols. This weekend you'll travel to Athens to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. How do you feel like you match up against the Bulldogs there in Athens?
Well, I think it's obviously first SEC series on the road, which is always important. Georgia has a really young team, much like we do in some spots, but I think that's where, our preparation and our early schedule, going to Florida Atlantic, going to Louisville, seeing those teams, I think our guys are really comfortable getting back out on the road this weekend. And I'm excited, as our team is, to get out on the road and really get off to a nice start on the road as we did at home this past weekend.
Coach, you only gave up 9 runs in 3 games against Tennessee this past weekend. Do you feel like your pitching is starting to kind of solidify a little bit?
It is. I think, I think we're fortunate in some spots because it's going to remain competitive. We had a terrific, midweek start with Tucker Hawley, who's challenging those guys for a midweek spot or a weekend spot. So that's going to continue, and I think those guys, and that's the way it should be. I don't want those guys on edge, knowing that they're pitching for their job every time they go out. And so right now we're in a pretty good place after Tennessee, but I think it's going to be ongoing. It's going to stay competitive throughout the SEC season.
You have a young team at some spots in the lineup. Is it going to be difficult for them kind of adjusting to their first SEC road game? Or you've already been on some road trips this year, already faced some tough teams. Number 5 Louisville went down to Florida Atlantic. So how do you feel like you face up against them?
Well, that was all part of the plan, in the preparation, is to get those guys in some of those situations prior to SEC. And I think where we're at right now with our young players is they're starting to show up and be who they are, and they're getting comfortable in all those aspects. And it's the same, even with our veteran players. I think they've got to continue to provide that great leadership that they have. And also, it's a group that, also last year didn't have a lot of success on the road. So it's a big step for us to go there, keep a good frame of mind and a great mentality, and play the way we have for most of this year, and just stay competitive, but also play on edge.
Coach, just looking at this team right now as you're kind of starting SEC play, what is maybe one thing that you really feel like you need to work on?
Well, it always starts on the mound, and that's where I think Charlie Sullivan really has solidified himself as the Friday night starter, and a big part of that is just what I'm saying. His preparation weekly, what he does, but also he brings just that competitiveness with him that spreads throughout the field. I want to see that as well with our Saturday, Sunday starters, as well as the bullpen guys that come in. So I think it always starts on the mound, but also the same thing. I think we're starting to get a little flow offensively that we hadn't really had throughout the front part of the season. So it's each phase of the game, and that's, when you play in the SEC and you play in the toughest conference in America, then you have to be good in every area.
Right.
And I think that's where, just for us as a whole, we still have a lot of improving to do, a lot of work to do. But I think we're taking some steps to get there. So it's really just constant improvement in each phase of the ball game.
Well, Coach, good luck this weekend as you take on Georgia. The game is on Friday night at 6 p.m. And then on Saturday, the game is broadcast on TV by CSS. That game, first pitch will be at 3 o'clock, and on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Coach, good luck as you take on your first SEC road trip of the season.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
For head coach Mitch Gaspard, I'm Christopher England, and that's it for this edition of the Crimson Tide Connection.